Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. And as my listeners know, which I appreciate you for listening, that I'm a huge advocate for animals. I'm work here at Peggy Adams Rescue here in South Florida, Big Dog Ranch, Jupiter Furry Friends. And I have somebody that is going to just fit right in perfectly for an interview. And her name is the fantastic Billie Groom, and she's an animal advocate who has dedicated the last 3 decades, that's 30 years, peeps, to decreasing canine behavioral euthanasia and surrender, increasing adoptions and changing the way people perceive dogs with checkered past. She's an expert in canine cognitive behavioral therapy, an award-winning author, and a podcast host. She's a member of the Animal Behavior Society, the Comparative Cognition Society, and Dog Writers Association of America, and also her company was the winner of the 2021 Global Business Awards. And don't go there now, but I will put it in the show notes. Her podcast, Dog Training Disrupted with Upward Dogology, was fantastic. You have to go check it out. There's so many awesome knowledge nuggets on how to raise your fur baby in the correct way, especially if they were adopted into your family. And the last one I just listened to resonated so well with me because when I adopted my pit Stitch, he came from a surrendered family. So I had to figure out ways to communicate with Stitch to get him to eat. And I unfortunately couldn't contact their family, but I wish I would have listened to this podcast before because it would have shortened that learning curve. And so, Billie, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Gray.
Gray?
Gray.
Why
I
gray?
love gray. Because it's not black and white. It's gray. And that gray area is such an important area.
Oh my gosh, living in the gray area. That's awesome. You do that too.
Yeah, you do. There's no black and white when you're working with dogs. There's no right or wrong. It just is what it is. And you have to be flexible. And gray's a really good foundation. And you need a good foundation.
Right.
Gray's a foundation for blue, which is an awesome color. And you've got white thrown in there. And I don't know, it's versatile. It's flexible.
It is.
Like
and it actually is in your color wheel too. So you can rock gray if you want to wear it as well. Awesome. Anyone can really. I'm actually kind of wearing gray today.
Yeah, I like gray. I wear gray all the time. Today I'm not.
I love it. I love it. So let's get 3 decades. That's, obviously 30 years, but let's get into what you did before and then how you leveled up into the CBT for babies.
I did not intend to be a behaviorist at all. I was on the West Coast doing West Coast Canada. I'm from Canada. Not a lot of anything all that great. Okay. I got my BA and I was sort of trying to figure out, but I ended up with a guy from Texas, actually. We went down, renovated a bus, and on the way, he had a dog. I had 2 dogs, and we ended up picking up dogs on the way, and there were abandoned dogs. And then when we got to Texas and, yada, ended up with 24 acres in North Carolina. There were a lot of dogs on that. That was sort of an unintentional. So we're going back when dog rescue wasn't the same way it is now. There wasn't internet. It wasn't as structured and registered. But I learned a lot
of how you had
it was grassroots. It completely unintentional, and just learned a lot from those dogs. Learned a lot. They came from different backgrounds, and almost all of them were over the age of 6 months, which is only what I work with.
Gotcha. And what was your degree in that?
Just a BA from Western University in Toronto. So I'm from the Toronto area.
Yeah. Awesome.
So just Toronto. A regular BA, but I've always had studied psychology as well. I'm really interested in psychology, and I really love it. So I ended up coming back up to Canada. Him and I split. I came back up to Canada, and I ended up opening a dog daycare, which again, back then was not, it was like, you do what? Dog walking and dog daycare? What the hell? What's that? So it was a super, it's a really trendy business now, and it's a good one. And I think it's a really good way for people to learn about dogs, which I did. Then I started to, and I always took in rescue dogs and took in fosters, that kind of thing. And then I really noticed that there were dogs in that adolescent stage, which for dogs is that kind of 8 months to 2 years. People were struggling with them. People were challenged with what to do. They'd done super well in their puppy stage. They'd done all their house training and their socialization. They've got everything perfect. And then, all of a sudden at adolescents, their dogs, the guy at the party with the lampshade on his head, and they don't know what to do. And that intrigued me.
Okay.
And sometimes those dogs ended up being euthanized or surrendered. So that bothered me. And then I started to work a lot with the rescue organizations, and they said that they did have a hard time with those dogs, or dogs with disadvantaged pasts that came in. They didn't really know how to integrate them into homes. Started to work more closely with them, or volunteer, I guess would be the word. So I still have my daycare, sold that at some point and focused on these less dogs with not such a great past. And then I started to work with the rescue organizations more, and then people started hiring me. And I never studied dog training. I never went to dog training
I was
schools.
just going to ask you that.
No, I learned from the dogs what worked. A lot of these dogs had aggression and anxiety, and they had their own way of thinking, and they had their own thought patterns. And I resonated with that. I resonated with not having a conventional upbringing and people not really understanding how to deal with that and how to take that. So a lot of my clients really want to help their dogs. They really want to do, but they just, conventional methods are designed to teach right from wrong. So they're great with puppies.
Right.
But they weren't working so well with a lot of these dogs.
Okay.
So I just had my own way of doing it. I didn't realize it was going to become something that the industry needed and people needed. Right. So I ended up becoming a behaviorist just because people hire me, and it works, and it's grounded in cognitive behavioral therapy as opposed, now I'm kind of getting into the psychology of it, but
I get it. I had to see somebody for CBT for insomnia.
Oh, cool.
And what it did for me worked. It was work though. That's the thing people understand is like, you have a fur baby, you want to make them part of the family and integrate them in, but there's work that has to be done, right? It's not like, oh, it's just going to work. That's what I kind of learned from my insomnia. It was terrible. So what did you take from like your psychology, the passion for psychology, and then transmute that into working with fur babies, with dogs, the 6 months to 2 years? What part of the psychology passion did you move into? Because obviously they communicate a lot differently than human beings.
Sort of, yeah. In some ways they don't, but I actually did it
You're
backwards.
right.
I didn't really realize that I was using CBT.
Right.
I didn't study CBT in the sense of applying it to dogs. I just worked with dogs. And as I kept working with them, I realized I had this method that was different than what is mainstream. So whether that's positive reinforcement training or balance training, or some of the other methods that other trainers use.
Sure.
I learned that as those methods became more popular and my profession became popular, that I just wasn't doing what they were doing. So I started to talk to psychologists and to veterinarians, and they're saying, you're not doing what's common and you're doing cognitive behavioral therapy. So I started to look into it more and study the 10 principles of cognitive behavioral therapy and see how what I was doing. So instead of taking cognitive behavioral therapy and formulating it so it works with dogs, I actually already had it working with dogs, and then started to study what I did. Okay. And that really made it super clear. That was just this light bulb went off in my head, and it just all came together, and I could put it into this formula. And then I started teaching it to 150 to 200 clients a year. Wow. For decades. So now we're at about, a decade ago. And that's when it really started to just really flourish, because I really had my head around what I was doing. It wasn't just me being good with dogs and me knowing what to do. I was actually putting it into a formula that I use when I work with my clients. And they're not necessarily, they aren't learning the entire formula. Sure. They're learning how to apply it to their dog to meet their needs, whatever that is.
Got it. So when you're starting to work with an owner brings you a dog that has the need for your therapy. When you're in that first kind of conversation, what do you notice that most of the owner's blind spots are?
That's interesting. Well, for one, they don't bring me the dog.
Okay.
I have clients all over the world. I do a lot of Zoom. I can do a ton with Zoom because we do videos and a lot
Okay.
of communication.
But you're talking to a person though, correct?
I am talking to a
Okay,
person.
then
And a lot of
what
times I
blind
don't even
spot would they have?
Yeah, they have their mindset on, they've all done positive reinforcement training. 98% of them have hired a positive reinforcement trainer who is certified and good. They're
Okay.
good at their job. It's the method that doesn't work for the dog. So what they do is I try to encourage them to listen to my podcast, which I think, appreciate you mentioning, because it changes the mindset. So if they're stuck on positive reinforcement training, they're going to try to fit a square peg into a round hole. So they just have to clear their mind. But most of my clients have, because they see that what they're doing isn't working. And they realize that it's not because it's a horrible, bad method or their trainer was terrible. It's simply that method doesn't work with their dog at that stage in the life to meet their needs. So they are open-minded to absorbing something different and learning. And it's so fun. And once we start working together, they start seeing it. The light bulb goes on and they see it in their dog. And it's such an awesome journey. It's so great to work with. And it doesn't always take a long time. They have to do the work, as you said, but it's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's often not time consuming. Sort of depends on a lot of different situations.
A lot of it seems to me comes from love, love for a family member. Like you said, they don't just communicate in dog. They actually, like, I look at my guy Stitch and I'm just waiting for him to speak English because the communication is there, right?
It starts with bond and communication, but you have to have the skill set to do that. So it's sort of one thing to say, you need love and you need patience, but productive patience is a dream, right? You need, what do I do today, Billy? What do I do right now? What skills do I need? That's what we start right off the top. If people are hiring me, they love their dog and they're patient. That's a gimme. So it's more me providing specific skills that change the dog's perception to change the behavior. And that's what's different with CBT. So CBT, not just for dogs, but you'll know with your insomnia, you can sit there and someone can say to you, if you actually sleep tonight, I'll reward you with a really good breakfast in the morning. You're not going to necessarily change your perception. You're not going to be able to sleep. You have to change your mindset. Something in your mind has to change. And then you can make that educated, calm decision to sleep. That's CBT. So the dog we're providing, well, I guess specifically I'm providing the people, but the people are providing the dog with this skills to change the perception so they don't feel the need to feel fear. They don't feel the need to do a behavior that's driven by a cognitive. So you have to remember, these dogs off the street, they've been using their cognitive skills. They've been harnessing those cognitive skills. That's why they're alive. So if we just go back to operant conditioning, sometimes it works. Sometimes you can do regular operant conditioning when you bring in a dog. But a lot of times, if you don't harness those skills, you're not using what they already know and what the skills. So I actually harness those cognitive skills. And that's why I can't work with puppies. Do use cognitive skills, but to a lesser degree and in a different way.
Right. So when every dog, just like a human, kind of has different personalities, right? So when someone is looking to come into and implement your therapy, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do during the discovery period?
Oh, that's a good question. They ask all sorts of questions. My clients are really tuned in. They're really knowledgeable and they throw questions at me like crazy. This is why, I mean, I do one-on-one. You're right there. It's always on. I'm always on. And I'm doing with my local clients, we might be at the off-leash park. We're in different parks. We're in public. I mean, you got to know what you're doing and it's on because the client's right there and they're throwing stuff at you. So I love that because I've been doing it a long time and I know what I'm doing, but it's, you got to have trust in what you're doing and be experienced. But they ask everything. I have veterinarians for clients.
Oh, that's
awesome. I have veterinarians. I have psychologists, psychiatrists. So they know what they're talking about.
Sure. So what do you feel then in your field, your biggest strength is?
Well, dogs don't get euthanized and dogs don't get surrendered. And
Passion.
people are, they're really upset a lot when they call me, when they contact me. They think they've been told they have to euthanize their dog. They've been told they have to either, for the rest of the dog's life, just cope or manage or avoid, or just continue to distract or avoid or put their dog away, not in a mean way, not in a horrible way, but just not be part of the family at certain times. And they're just really upset about it.
Right.
And they've tried everything. They've had 3 or 4 trainers. They've done what they're supposed to do. So it's really great. It needs to be part of mainstream dog training.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. It needs to be, but the industry is very closed, and and that's why I get the reputation of an industry disruptor, because
I love it.
I'm not really like a regular dog trainer.
Right.
I don't use the standard methods.
And it's that gray area that you're living in that's succeeding.
Yeah, I live in it. Yeah.
Right?
And so that's why I'm an industry disruptor, totally unintentionally.
Right. Do you ever do you have any dogs that help with the therapy? Like, the reason why I ask this, and hear me out, is that there's a group here in Juno Beach called Juno Dogs, and we get a text every morning at 4:45 a.m. saying, oh, we got sunrise at beach marker 30 with the fur baby, so everyone brings their coffee, and they left the dog. So I took Stitch, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to go bad, because I had taken him to the beach before, and he was just like, affectionately an idiot. I call him. I love my dog, and he knows. You'll meet him here in a second. But
that's awesome.
He like, I let him go, and there's just an older gentleman just saying, "Bears got him," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And this is my first time I brought him. It's like, "Bears got him," and I had taken my Ridgeback, who passed away, that I rescued as well, and he would run with all the dogs, and it was like, it's very sad. Then I adopted Stitch, but he's like, Bear's got him, and he has a dog, Bear. He's like an older golden. And basically, Bear kind of introduced him into other dogs in a sense. Do you ever use, and now I can take him to the beach and he goes and he doesn't bother anybody. And that's how it worked. Do you ever use other dogs, or is it just simply your CBT approach to work through the situations? I'm just curious about that. I've been wanting to ask.
It's a great question. It is, because people want to do those things with their dogs. They want to go, we have off-leash dog parks here, which would be really similar to what you're talking about.
Right.
And people do have certain times that they go, because they have their groups of friends and what they do. And so that's basically, the ones in my city are my second off, or they're my office, basically.
Okay.
So I do. And a lot of the people there are my clients. And they'll be saying, hey, Billy, do you want me to help you out? Do you want me to come closer or further? Or even in on-leash park area, around the lake that we have here, people will go by and they'll know me and see me and say, do you want me to come closer or farther? And so they do help out. And sometimes in the sessions, we'll set up meet and greets to address whatever it is. But you have to remember, with CBT, you're not necessarily focusing on the immediate behavior. You're focusing on building skills. So those skills can be built and should be built, not in the time of difficulty. So if the dog has difficulty with dogs, we wouldn't. But if the dog is great with dogs, that would be an awesome time to build skills that we're then going to transfer over to the challenging time. But my clients, like I said, they're all over the world. So I might ask them, do you have a family member or friend that has a dog that you can do these exercises with?
Okay.
Or can you go to your off-leash dog park? And they'll send me videos. So I'm getting videos. It also depends on their weather too, right?
Absolutely. Sure.
There's all sorts of things you're dealing with. So it's really cool, because you really got to narrow down and, divide and do different exercises and get creative. It's super creative, which I love.
And I love that you said that, because that you will ingrain other dogs, and lack of a better term, but like have other dogs that can help. Because literally, like Stitch, when I let him go, he just bolted north, and then Chet, he's just like, Bear, get him. Like he just whistled at him, and Bear trotted down the beach, barked once, Stitch turned around and ran right back to him, and that was it. So it was like a godsend.
That's cool. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It was just like something I wanted to share with you. And, you know,
I think
because
it's great. The older dogs know what's going on, right?
right,
They've got the whole thing together. So a new dog comes in, it's just like people in
right.
a sense where someone comes into a new environment and
Mhm.
people are welcoming and friendly, but there's always going to be that one person that makes sure that person knows
Yeah.
what's going on and follows the rules and right and
Billy,
that kind of thing.
let me ask you something, and I've been wanting to ask you this too. How do dogs understand the maturity of other dogs? Meaning, like,
Oh,
Stitch will see an older dog, okay, and he will not go be like Stitch is like his best friend's a Westie that's like little, right? And he'll hold her down and be rough with her and have fun. But older dogs, why do dogs know, or how do they know that a dog is more mature and they don't really mess with the dog? If you know,
that is so true. A lot of people put weight on size or weight of a dog. They'll say, oh, my dog likes big dogs or small dogs, but age is a huge defining factor. And especially if people are bringing a second dog into their home.
okay,
Right. Sometimes dogs that are really, really close in age, and there's no definite because they're dogs and they have personalities, but that can be a little more challenging than if one's older and younger.
okay,
And a lot of people think that the older dog is more submissive and the younger dog is more dominant. But when it comes to what's really important to that older dog, which might only be 2 or 3 things, and it's
right,
not a certain toy or not a treat or something like that, or their food, it could just be where they sit in the car or where they
okay,
sleep.
okay,
Something that's just really important, or a time of day that their dad comes home and that's the time of day that their dad spends a few minutes patting them. And that's important to them. So you'll see that older dog make sure that those few things that are important to them, but then just doesn't give a shit about anything else. It's like that
right,
dog could steal his toy, could run around, could jump
right,
up, do all sorts of things, doesn't care.
right,
So they do have those dynamics, and a lot of it is based on age. So I'll ask if my client says got into a bit of a scuffle with a dog at the dog park, they might know that person and might know that dog, and I would ask, what's the age of that other dog? And that's where you get interesting. So dogs will give leeway to puppies. They know they're
okay,
puppies. They know they're just little puppies, but at some point they expect that puppy to get with the program
get in line
and listen to the person.
right,
Right. And it's like, you
right,
got to be listening to the person. You got to be. And so they'll start managing that dog, and people will start correcting the older dog for being, maybe a little bit growly or whatever to the younger
bossy,
dog,
right,
or,
yeah,
bossy. Yeah. When in
okay,
fact, we just got to get that younger dog with the program, and then the older dog will inherently stop doing it. The older dog will be quite happy. Phew, thank God, my
right,
peep's getting on this. The dog's listening to my peep, and I don't have to sit here and be the boss.
wow, I
So
love that.
they have their dynamics, and they have, so
So
that's
good.
again with CBT is you always address the reason for the behavior, not the behavior. So
Gotcha.
there's a reason dogs do a behavior, whether it's something they learned in their past or their perception. It's always based on their perception, and their
Wow.
perception drives their behavior. And that's why they have cognitive skills. So when I say cognitive skills, that's like memory, emotional intelligence, the ability to know that you just took their ball and put it in the cupboard. So they stand there and bark at the cupboard and jump on it. They know you put it there.
Right,
They remember it
right,
there.
right,
So they have cognitive skills. They can put 2 and 2 together. And the cool thing is science studies this a lot now. So I talk to scientists a lot, and I'm starting to work with them more. Scientists that study dog cognition.
okay,
And I've started to connect with them more, not just like canine enrichment. Canine enrichment is good. They use cognitive skills. So canine enrichment is games, basically.
sure,
People do it inherently. They do it
right,
naturally. 8-year-olds do it.
right,
But then you also
right,
have service dogs and scent detection dogs and cadaver dogs, things like that. They're all using cognitive skills. I just
right.
use it.
Thank you for saying that, because it's
Yeah,
so
they all
true.
do.
You
Yeah.
know, and being with my guy, it keeps me, because I'm always, traveling, speaking, coaching, whatnot. I'm like, my dude keeps me present. That's what it happens for me. It's like we walk around because we have the ocean on one side, we have a lake on the other. We walk around the lake, and it's just like sometimes I'll become impatient, but then lately, not lately, probably last 5 years, a switch flips in my head to watch him and observe him.
Yeah.
And it just brings like, I'll check my watch and my pulse goes down. It's like so amazing what dogs can teach us as well.
Oh,
and,
oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. That's a whole, that's a whole,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm sure you
incredible.
have a podcast about that, as well. But
that I should do what?
Yeah. We're going to dig into a little bit about Billy here though. Okay.
Okay.
You've seen the movie Back to the Future?
No, I don't watch movies.
Okay, gotcha. So there's this guy.
Well, I do, but more like Quentin Tarantino.
Okay, that's fine. Michael J. Fox. It's a classic movie. If you haven't watched it, want to be entertained, it's fantastic. He gets in this DeLorean, he goes back in time and visits his mom and dad back at that. Okay, so let's get back into that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go to the 22-year-old Billy. What kind of knowledge nuggets, as we call them here at Time to Shine today, would you drop on her to maybe help her understand things better, level up, shorten the learning curve?
Collaborate.
Okay.
And realize what you've got and move forward with it faster.
Okay.
But at the same note, my learning journey got me where I am, but I would say, yeah.
No, I love it. I love that you
That's
collaborate, community,
tough one.
And if you don't know something, collaborate and it'll help you. I love that. I call it get your asking gear, ask. I love it.
Totally.
I love it. So,
and I've always been good at asking questions and taking people's advice.
Good.
But I've always been a real loner.
Okay. Gotcha. Believe it or not, I am too. That's what people understand about me. They see me on stages. They see me out. I'll network my butt off, right? But dude, I love going to restaurants by myself with my Kindle, which never leaves my side, my Kindle, right? And I will read and just chill out because it's a time for me to decompress because I'm with people all the time, So, Billy, how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date. How do you want that dash remembered for you?
Don't do it. Sorry, say that again. I don't get it.
Okay, so how do you want people to remember you? There's a little dash on your tombstone, right? You have your life date, your death date. How do you want your dash remembered?
Yeah. I would say it just positively affected a lot around her.
Wow.
Just really made a difference. I always say to myself, don't think about making friends and don't worry about making waves. Just focus on making a difference.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm writing this stuff down.
Because when you're making a difference, you're going to make waves. And the moon makes waves every night, right? Just do it. And you're going to make friends at some point if you're true to what you do, and people will support you, and they will support you, and they will see what you're doing, and they will hop on board. So just do what you do, make a difference, and the rest will follow.
Love that, because I make two New Year's resolutions every year since 2009. Okay. And people didn't know my story. I was homeless, blah, blah, blah. Me and my Ridgeback literally lived in a car and in people's houses that weren't there. Anyways, but I make two New Year's resolutions. One is that I make someone smile every single day. Okay, period. I just won my day right there. Two is that unless I've hurt you, disrespected you in any way, shape, or form, I give zero no whats about what you think about me. And that goes back to what you said. You don't have to make friends and you don't have to make waves. You focus on making a difference, and it just happens. I love that you said that. So, Billy, what do you think people misunderstand about you the most?
I'm more fun and more silly than I come across a lot. I mean, I do like to go to a local bar and drink my beer and listen to a local band and have fun. And I'm certainly dancing around and being silly there. But I think like your childhood, or maybe yours wasn't childhood, but my childhood was, had to grow up fast. So I don't know. I think I'm very serious about what I do because it's important to me.
You're in the moment. You're present.
Yeah.
You have, wouldn't say a job to do. You have a passion to output. I love that. I love that. So Billie, then what keeps you up at night?
Oh, everything. God, I need to do CBT for my insomnia. I got to start doing that. I listened to you say that. It's like, geez, I need to. Okay. Yeah, what keeps me up is just keeping my promise to the dogs that I will make a difference and I will change, because those dogs, they're the ones I owe it all to.
I love that.
You know, they trusted me. They were there for me.
Yeah.
So so being on your show, for one, keep it going, keep it moving forward, get it out there, and make sure that dogs aren't euthanized when they don't need to be, which is 90% of the time.
Right. I love that. I love that. So then what is Billie's definition of a life well lived?
I guess I would go back again to making a difference, making a positive difference.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I was hoping you're going to say that. And squad, we're going to take my good friend Billie Groom here through our leveling up lightning round just as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors and affiliates. Time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and I got my awesome sauce friend Billie Groom. And Billie, you and I could literally talk 15 minutes to an hour on each one of these questions, right? But you've got 5 seconds. I'm sure you've listened to this show, so you've got 5 seconds to answer these questions with no explanations. You ready to level up?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm so bad at this kind of stuff.
That's fine. We're gonna have fun with it. So we'll start with this. Well, a little softball one here. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Received? Go on your gut.
Yes. Sure. One of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
I'm a cardio junkie.
Love it. Love it. And with dogs, you can't go wrong. My dog keeps me in shape. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So what's the most commonly used emoji when you text?
Thumbs up.
Love it. Love it. Any nicknames growing up?
Well, I didn't really have a family growing up, but at some point, Squirt.
Squirt. Love it. Love it.
When I was little. My current one is funny. It's Groomhauer. My last name's Groom, taken off of Boomhauer from King of the Hill.
Okay, I love it.
Groomhauer.
Love it.
But yeah, not a lot from my childhood going on. So, but yeah.
Love it. New Year's resolution this year?
Oh, I want to start drinking hard alcohol, some kind of hard, like I like my wine, I like my beer. I think hard alcohol is really classy, and I can never start drinking it. Like, God, I just can't seem to start.
We got to throw some back. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, I got some really good scotch here in South Florida.
That's what I want. There you go.
Okay, so chess or checkers?
I'd have to go chess because it's an Alice in Wonderland, but I'm not really I like my Alice in Wonderland.
Love it. Your go-to ice cream flavor?
Ooh, chocolate chip.
Got it. So there's a sandwich named the Billie Groom. What's on that sandwich?
Veggies. Lots of mushrooms, and we got some avocados, and maybe, Yeah,
I love it. Love it. So if you could get in a time machine, right, and take it either into the future or to the past, which would you pick?
Past.
All right. Very cool. Was any favorite charity? I'm sure this is going to be an easy one for you, but any favorite charity and organization you like to give your time or money to?
It's not easy. There's 9 million. I give.
That's what I
give my expertise.
Okay.
I give my expertise on a regular. I'm always donating and my expertise, and
love it.
Yeah, I don't do money.
Last question, and you can elaborate. What's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
60s.
60s. Really? 60s. Who's your jam? Who's your go-to?
Oh, I love the Stones and Janis Joplin and Three Dog Night. Just I love the 60s. It's so I'm a peace hippie girl.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's like I'm 50. I just turned 50 a couple weeks ago, and like I grew up kind of with the 80s. I graduated in 1990, so the 80s are my jam. But my parents, my dad and mom would always throw on the 60s and 70s. So I sometimes ask people, were you more of a Beatles, Stones, or Frankie Valli? Because those are the four seasons. So you said Stones. So
yeah, Stones.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I love the 80s too, by the way. I have my best friend, he's always saying, you're such an 80s chick, because if I'm going to run to something or rock out or just be, it would be 80s music, but I'd have to say 60s is my true soul.
Okay.
But I love the 80s.
Yeah,
It's
the 80s
classic.
was
It's just so fun.
so transforming, right? I mean, you had your yuppies and the capitalism is a decade of like overdue, right? But then like the music, you had the introduction of rap, and then you had the invasions from U2 and Duran Duran and Culture Club, and you had all of that. But then you had the Big Hair Don't Care. It's like you had everything.
You do.
I love it. And so, Billie, how can we find you, love?
www.upwarddogology. So Upward stands for Urban People with Adopted and Rescued Dogs. So it's actually an acronym, upwarddogology.com. I'm also on Instagram. That's Upward Dogology, Twitter, Upward Dogology, LinkedIn. I'm on a fair bit. I like it. That's Billie Groom. I just go on my regular name on that.
So what was that? Urban People with
Adopted and Rescued Dogs. That's the name of my book, actually.
Okay.
But adopted, but the A could also be adolescent, obnoxious. The R could be rambunctious. Not all of my clients have adopted or rescued dogs. They could have their dog from puppy and done everything right. There's lots of, they could have a mature older dog that's just going through a weird change. So it's really anything, but that's what Upward kind of stands for.
I love that. I love that it is an acronym. I love that.
I love acronyms. I got to think for them.
I love it. So, Billie, do me one last favor and leave the listeners with a knowledge nugget that they can take with them, internalize, and take action.
I would say to figure out what resonates with you, what your skills are, what you're comfortable with, and really look into how you can use that to make your life the way that you want it, what's important to you and what sits well with you, and take that and be creative and use it to the best that you can use it to.
Wow. Well, and squad, I can't even read my writing because I was writing too fast. I have to re-listen to this interview with my good friend, Billie Groom, who, she built skills, like not so much in the time of difficulties, but you just have to go back and listen, because I'm just like blown away about the CBT with the dogs. Like there's reasons for behavior, perception drives the behavior. She's someone that is all about collaborating with people to help the puppies, the fur babies, level up, because there's therapy for everybody, and even the dogs. Like, I hate the word euthanization. I freaking hate it. That's why I work and volunteer with all the no-kill shelters that I can possibly get my hands into. She is somebody that has a positive effect on everybody around them, and she likes to throw back a couple of brain grenades every now and then. And she's just such a fun person to be around. She doesn't want you to worry about making friends or making waves, but focus on making a difference, because the waves and the friends are going to come. So are the haters. But again, you don't really care about those people. You care about the friends and the waves of the people that will come into your life to help make a difference. She is known as someone that can be fun and silly. And, the urban or upward dogology, I love the acronym of Urban People Adopted and Rescued Dogs. And that's fantastic. And lastly, that if something resonates with you and you find a passion, use that, take action on it, get your asking gear if you don't know about it, and level up. And that's what my good friend Billie does. She levels up her health, she levels up her wealth, she helps all the fur babies that she can. And I'm so blessed to know you. I can't wait to collaborate with you in the future. I love your guts. Thank you so much for coming on, Billie.
Thanks so much, Scott. This was awesome. Thanks for all you do for your listeners and for the dogs.
You're welcome. Thank you, love. I'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, we'll talk soon. Take care, Scott. Bye.